Hello and welcome to today's webinar. We will be discussing the feature that Salesforce is discontinuing, which is their data recovery service. I will be going through what are the features that they are going to remove within this service and what are your options, as well as how you could use DBSync to address, and we'll go through a quick demo of what a recovery tool looks like. Hopefully it will be useful, and do let us know if you have questions. There's the chat window. You can post your questions there, and at the end of the session, try to get back to most of you. If not, we'll connect with you after the session today. So what is it that Salesforce is discontinuing from their data recovery service? So first of all, Salesforce never did a complete backup and restore. Um, they never had that feature and that you could use it on a daily basis. What they instead had was a data recovery service. And let me go show you this site, which will give you a lot more information. So if you just Google up FAQs, data recovery services, and cost, this is a pretty comprehensive. And this is where July 31st, things will get discontinued. In essence, this would cost you about a $10,000 one-time cost for recovering it. It's going to be a CSV file that you would get from them. And there's some caveats to it. I encourage everyone to go look at what the capabilities are. It does not have metadata backup. There are certain conditions of what can be recovered and what cannot be recovered. We cannot go back 90 days from today, so there's limits to it. The big part is that it took them 6 to 8 weeks to restore it. So there's quite a lot of challenges that was built in, and I guess Salesforce realized it was time to stop it and let other vendors actually specialize in this backup recovery. And as part of their release notes, they actually recommended saying, go find some other vendors that can do it better. So we are one of them, and we hope to showcase what we can do and how it would work. So the other way a lot of folks used to back up an archive is through data loader. They would take that and dump it in CSV and keep it around. Something bad happened and they would go back recover. It's doable if you have enough bandwidth to and manual work to do it. You could. Others have used APIs and scripts to do similar thing, not only into CSV, but data stores and other things. We took that same approach. We built a whole automated tool to provide you with that solution so that you don't have to worry about it and you can do it. In a nutshell, what they offered and what we have out of the box from Salesforce is really not a satisfactory backup archiving tool for any enterprises, and we'll go through one step at a time. So what do we have and why do we need a backup restore? And I might be preaching to the choir. You are here, you know why you need it and what's the essence of it. Out of the box, if Salesforce has up to 5,000 records deleted in their recycling bin that can be restored. But the challenge doesn't always come from the recycling bin. It's often because someone fat-fingered and changed an address, deleted certain fields and values, attachment, or more so what we hear back is when somebody is trying to do a migration or there's a data integration between two systems and something happens and it changes a whole set of data within Salesforce. And as you know, changes in data cannot be tracked unless you have history tracking in every field. Deletes can be tracked to some extent, up to at least up to 5,000. But if you have a data loss or data change or corruption, it's not a good way to recover it. Last and most important is the regulatory compliance for firms who have who are in the space of finance and banking and insurance, or any public firm. You are governed around the SOX and FINRA requirement. And we have a great article on our site. If you go to mydbsync.com, and where it is, yeah. So if you go to the solutions section and you go to finance and banking, we have some good articles on what are the requirements. And one of them is this white paper. I encourage everyone to look at it carefully. So this section, this is a write-up, kind of details what these regulatory requirements are and what sections within these regulatory requirements require that you need some backup archive. Most important, that you have to maintain digital data backups for critical documents up to 7 years. Your account and contact and communications around it are critical in nature. So those are some of the requirements driving such the need of a tool for backup and archive. Again, I encourage everyone to go look at this document. It kind of breaks it down as to what is required within these regulations. By no means this is a comprehensive document. I encourage your security team to go through and evaluate the need for a backup archive solutions. Going forward, what does DBSync provide? We address the space. We provide you full incremental, partial data replication of Salesforce into any data store, be it our cloud hosted, our service, or you have on-prem. If you have a bank and you don't want to use our cloud hosted backup service, you can do it on-prem. Within your own archiving system, we can pipe it to your database, your data lake, your S3, wherever you want. It can push the data to it. Not only that, it can recover it. It does the data and metadata of all your objects, custom objects, documents, attachments. Very easy to recover. We'll walk you through the demo of how it works. Gets you compliant. There's no coding required, no API and all those things, unless you really want to get in, and then you can drive our replication engine to replicate through API. So if you are using things like SSIS or some ETL process or scheduler jobs inside your organization or enterprise, then you can trigger our jobs from any place. The whole idea of our replication tool was to make it super easy, very easy to administer. It automatically detects changes in Salesforce and replicates it. It's always backward compatible, always recovering. In a sense, it's a very easy system to use. And when things really go bad, you can quickly go into the tool, find out what went wrong, recover it. And furthermore, it has a lot more functions that maybe we'll leave it for another webinar series of how to build data lakes for data warehousing, how to do Salesforce to Salesforce copy, how to run your data migration projects without messing up Salesforce. And a lot of things are all included within this product. So I want to go through some case studies that we have on how these companies used us. Scotiabank, one of our very early customers, they had a Solaris environment and they wanted everything on-prem. They wanted to comply with this, and they were using Salesforce and they didn't have a backup archiving tool. And they vetted us against many other companies who were providing, and they selected us. And we totally automated it, and it's used fairly widely within the organization. And when we spoke to them after years of them using it, they said, well, at the bare minimum per node, we are removing at least 25% of our developers' job because this thing automates. The DBA is 25% more free If they didn't have this tool, the developers and DBAs would be 25% more busy trying to tackle errors and did it run, not run, uh, monitoring and managing it. So a lot of efficiency gain with them. Juhidi job, who was the CIO there, had a unique problem. They were using Salesforce, but he was using data loaders to back it up. And he had so many different CSV files flying all over the place. It became a big challenge. They used our tool and we were very seamlessly, in their case, dumped it into a database, much better than CSV. They had full control of it. It was so much smoother. There were no more files flying around. We have American Tower, another case where they were using an ETL tool from Oracle Golden Gate, and they were having this constant struggle of maintaining the jobs within Golden Gate, because every time Salesforce would change with every release that they were making, their development team within American Tower was making, they would have to change the ETL process so that the right things were getting backed up. It was a headache for them. And they looked at ours and then they realized, oh, geez, this is so much less work. We just click a button and boom, everything gets replicated and we can schedule it. It automatically looks at changes in Salesforce and replicates it out. So a lot of time saving, and they use it along with Oracle Data Integrated tool. So a lot of our customers are using us along with another integration tools. So bear in mind, it's just not a backup archive. It can sit and work along with the other data management suites also. So who is it for? It is for all IT architects who are building Salesforce solutions, have to comply with compliance, security officers, DBAs, and a lot of our folks are Salesforce admins and developers who want to build out a complete solution of making sure that disaster recovery and archiving is all part of their solution set. It's just not Salesforce setup, it's thinking through the whole thing. If something goes wrong, they're able to get through with it. So quick, our story, how did we end up here? We're part of Avankia. That's how our history goes. We're a spin-off from Avankia. We were at one point direct Salesforce professional services. We did quite a bit of Salesforce implementation of some of the larger ones. We have over 1,000 plus projects under our belt. And one of the clients early on came to us and said, you know what, which was Windsor Healthcare. We said, well, everything is good, but I need the Salesforce data in our Oracle instance. And they were looking around and they found that all the solutions at that time were pretty expensive. And they knew that my background, being the founder for this company, was in data and data integration. They said, why don't you build something that would work for us? So we ground up built it for them exactly to address all the healthcare needs the way they wanted to operate a very large enterprise. And they really liked it. They operated it. And once that was done, other large banks started to come, financial institutions like Scotia and BMO. They saw what we had done and they said, aha, this is exactly what we need. And they adopted us. Ever since, we have had pretty steady growth. We have been recognized by Gartner and Forrester and G2 Crowd and Capterra, along with pretty well reviewed on App Exchange. So these are some of our customers. We have big and small, all industries. It spreads across multiple domains, and all of them are using. Pretty happy. So looking at some of the options, when I mentioned that you could use ETL tools and data loaders, what is the right tool? Why can't I just use data loader or ETL tool? You can absolutely use it. Goes back to what Bharat at American Tower mentioned, is I can use it, but I have to manage these schema changes every time, and I have to restructure our data store to track those. And a pure replication tool is different from ETL from that very aspect. It just does the automatic detection of changes in schema and data set and just dumps it. Not only that, we make sure that we are backward compatible. So if you're running an ETL job or integration job, normally there's also a process that you have to follow, which you identify a requirement or change request in schema, then somebody has to update their mapping. They have to go through QA, testing, validation before they go live. It could easily span a couple of months. With a replication tool, it's all in one. It's fairly easy to do. Another one is the backup archive architecturally. And I put this in because this is kind of a pattern we were seeing. Most organizations have a preset archiving of their databases. Databases have been around forever. What we did and what most of our customers love, and this is a capability out of the box, that we replicated your Salesforce into the database of your choice. So we support MySQL and SQL Server and Oracle, many of them. And from there, you can actually pipe it to your archiving system if you want, where you want a clean data set. If you want transactional restore, we also save it into our database so that you can go restore it. But from a compliance standpoint, you can archive snapshots of data into your archives and databases or tape drives fairly seamlessly with this solution. So it's a very powerful way. It's not only that we are archiving and letting you restore, but we are doing it in a way that is compliant to your current architecture, where you don't have to go through a lot of changes and adapts to it, rather than you adapting to a format or a structure that we are enforcing on you. So if you have a preset archiving strategy in place where you're using tape drives or storage systems, EMC or Dell, whatever it has, we can adapt to any of your archiving mechanism fairly easily. Often the question that we get asked is, what all do we back up? You can back up everything, but there's certain objects within Salesforce you don't really have to back them up. Those are non-replicatable ones, and those usually get recreated when we do a restore. So keep in mind there's pros and cons, but generally most of them just replicate all the objects that you are actively using. You can do some advanced reporting, and this is something that we did where Salesforce reporting failed and we were trying to do joins and multiple joins, and we kind of exhausted everything. What we did was we exported all the data out into a data warehouse and then joined it with other data sets. We calculated it and pushed it back into Salesforce. So this is beyond just archive and restore. It's the same tool can be used for data mining and reporting needs. It's a fairly intuitive and easy to use. Most of the time when you see how we replicate data in your data lake or data store or database, you'll quickly realize, oh geez, we can do quite a bit. In our case, we use it heavily for analyzing customer retention and churns and things like that. The architecture for this is very simple. We take Salesforce, we throw it into a raw staging, a backup archive. Tables could be used. We throw it into a data warehouse. That's where a lot of the big data calculation happens. And then we push it back into Salesforce. That's kind of a summary of what is happening. We thought it was useful for all our client base because this is something that we hear quite a bit around understanding customer analytics and knowing how to data mine and score them. So what to consider if choose the right tool for the job. If it is replication versus ETL versus backup archive, there are tools for it. Follow some of the best practices and backup archive, and mainly if you're doing on-prem, scoping out how much data storage you would need and how frequently you have to do, and just expand the use of it. If it's there, why not use with other uptrending technologies like data lakes and big data calculations also as part of it. You get all of this within this tool, so there's no additional charges. It comes with the whole package. So your options, and this is where we talk quite a bit. And you can look at the release notes from Salesforce. They also talk about the same thing. You have data loader or ETL tools. Those will give you CSV file dumps, or you have to manage the ETL mapping. If you build it yourself, it's expensive. If you want to maintain it, we don't recommend. If you're a small shop, if you're a large shop, and you have a large development team to support it ongoing, it might be good for you. You can save some money in the long run. What we provide and what Salesforce also recommends is the use of a third-party product like ours, which is full-featured, and it's heavily loaded with um, functionality that you might have to discover as you build your own version of it. And not only that, maybe constantly adding new features, and all these new features are coming at no cost to you. So here's another Bank of Montreal. They used it to back it up in SQL Server. They're pretty happy. They have been using it for years. Another healthcare firm, they had custom objects and others, and they have been using us for a long time too. So benefits as compared to using managed code or mappings, each release with change requests that you might run into with ETLs and deployments that could cost upward of 30K per release. I mean, you can save that much with this automatic replication. You can run new analytics, and with this discontinuation of the service, which could have cost you over 10K and 6 to 8 week delay, ours is immediate, and you can schedule it at whatever frequency you want. You can have the restore and the peace of mind that you should be able to get the data much faster. So again, these are some of the use cases. We are focusing today mostly on the backup, archive, restore, and the next sessions we'll be talking a lot more about data lakes and how we can do more with the reporting. Salesforce to Salesforce, sandbox seedings, how to run data migrations. So let me go through a quick demo of what the product is. Let me jump into product and go. So when you see download the product, by default, admin and localhost is the username, and the password is admin. You can log in. I've already set mine up. We can not only replicate Salesforce, but also any OData specific instances like MSCRM. In this case, we'll go through Salesforce. It's fairly simple, very intuitive. You point it to your Salesforce, point it to your database. And we have two sorts of database. We have the database, which is the live replica of your Salesforce. And then we have the history tracking tables or data schema. You can use the same database to a separate schema for managing it. And you can just simply replicate those. Jump to the objects. This will give you control of what you want to replicate. In this case, we are just going to replicate accounts and contacts. You can select, you have very fine control of what all you want to replicate. If you want to exclude, there's some fields that are unnecessarily and take a lot of space in your database tables. You can filter those out. You can slice the data out also if you want. So there's quite a bit of flexibility. You can export it, and we'll go in detail in a next session of how to do Salesforce to Salesforce copy. You can run this at any frequency. We have minutes, hours, week, any of those. And the last one is the restore. So in this case, I have a system, and I'm going to go find Salesforce and look at my data set. And I see these are all the changes that has happened. And I see that, look, Salesforce and Market Street, these are the data that has changed. So let me look at these two data sets and see what happened. And this will pull up information from your live instance Salesforce and also from your database in different versions. So this is your master one in Salesforce. This is what is in your history tracking. So I see that somebody changed the data to one Market Street. So I'm going to take this and say, you know what, this was fat fingered. This should truly be the case. Salesforce has moved long back to Salesforce Tower. We'll review this, merge, and very similar to how you would do a lead merge, you will do a similar merge on this tool. So we go through this, and it will go merge the data, and we'll look at this data set. You can see that the data has been updated. So that's how simple it is for backing up and restoring the product. And you just set it up and let it run. Go ahead and just schedule using the scheduler. So the feature set, there's quite a bit of stuff going on. I'll just like to give you a quick review of what we have and the difference between a cloud version, which is a hosted versus on-prem. Both of them have very similar functionality. In a nutshell, that our cloud platform is hosted and run by us. There is no hosting cost for you. Like machines and others, it's all baked into the subscription. Just call us and we can have our sales rep walk you through the different pricings that we have. We manage the storage, and you don't have to care about it, and it's fairly quickly to start up. The on-premise used a very similar experience from a the UX standpoint. You download it, all the functionalities are very much there. But in this case, you can run it in any environment, Windows, Linux, AWS. You have unlimited storage, unlike a cloud version. There's limited storage that we could give you. We give you a gig, which is more than enough for most of the clients. The local one, you can create multiple copies. You have database export capabilities. You can do Salesforce to Salesforce copy. There's a lot more flexibility that you have with the on-premise version. So what's next? I think I gave a lot of information in the short time. I'm pretty sure you have lots of questions. What we'd like to do is take those questions, some of those questions offline with you. We're almost getting towards the time. But if you want to meet with us and see how easy it is and how to get started, just go to mydbsync.com schedule-demo. You can download our product for free and try it out, or just email us at sales@mydbsync.com. But just don't wait. Data corruptions can happen anytime. Just make sure that you are protected as these features are being removed from Salesforce. So I want to quickly show you where you can find more information from our site. If you go to mydbsync.com, if you go to cloud replication, you have backup restore. And it walks you very carefully, step by step, to the developer edition that you can play around with, which is a cloud hosted. You can download the product, different versions, shows you how to get it operational, working. Has a lot of other contents, links to wiki site, comparison of the different products, FAQs. So I encourage that you go to the site, see how it could work for you. We have AWS images, we have Docker images that you could use. We have a comprehensive forum, YouTube channels. We do constant webinars that you can join us. A lot of blogs relevant to replication space. I encourage that you have a look at the site. Hopefully it will give you most of your answers, but we absolutely look forward to talking to you and seeing how best we can address. We highly recommend that you um, review your options, and by July 31st, make a decision one way or the other on how you would like to make sure that if something goes bad, you are able to recover those solutions. With that, we thank you for joining in today, and we hope to catch you in our next webinar, which will be posted on our site soon. Thank you.